In the grand halls of the Galactic Assembly, silence held weight, pressing down on the gathered delegates. For eons, these ancient civilizations had convened, their wisdom stretching across the fabric of time itself. Some had witnessed the birth of galaxies. Others had long abandoned the need for physical forms, existing only as energy. They had guided countless young races, steering them away from destruction, always preaching the same doctrine. Violence is primitive, war is failure. And yet, the newest addition to their ranks, a species barely a blink in the cosmic timeline, had just spoken of war as if it were an achievement. The human delegate sat at the center of it all, oblivious to the growing unease. He had expected skepticism. Humanity was, after all, the youngest species ever admitted into the assembly. But this was different. The murmurs had died. The room, a place that once resonated with the voices of beings who had seen the rise and fall of stars, was silent. Not the silence of contemplation, but the silence of something far more unsettling. It started with the Zyphar Dominion, the elder representative, whose existence predated planetary formation, had stiffened. His elongated features, usually composed, seemed strained. He did not ask for clarification. He did not challenge the human's words. He merely whispered something in his native tongue and, without another word, severed his connection, disappearing from a holographic display. One by one, other elder civilizations followed. The Zalari, beings who had once claimed to have mapped the infinite void, turned off their communication links without explanation. The Vasari, who prided themselves on a knowledge of all recorded history, averted their gaze. A scholar from the Oran Collective visibly recoiled, as if the very mention of World War had triggered something primal, something buried deep beneath layers of evolution. The human delegate leaned forward slightly, his expression shifting from confidence to confusion. He had come here believing that humanity's history would be a testament to its resilience, that its past, filled with both triumph and devastation, would serve as a beacon of progress. He had expected questions, debates, maybe even admiration. He had not expected fear. From across the chamber, a single voice finally broke the silence. It belonged to a Rhizonian diplomat, one of the younger species, only a few millennia into interstellar development. His voice wavered, his bioluminescent tendrils flickering with uncertainty. "Did you say world wars?" The human delegate nodded, still searching for an explanation for the room's reaction. "Yes, 2 of them, in fact, in the span of just a few decades. The largest conflicts in our recorded history." More whispers. One of the elder races let out what could only be described as a shudder, their translucent form vibrating. A representative from a Venari Accord, a civilization known for their precise and methodical approach to diplomacy, closed his eyes and exhaled through his gills. Finally, the Oran scholar, the one who had recoiled earlier, spoke. His voice carried no arrogance, no intellectual superiority, only an emotion that humans rarely heard from creatures so ancient. Disbelief. Impossible. The human frowned. What's impossible? The Oran scholar hesitated, then leaned forward, his massive multi-limb frame tensing. "You're saying that within a single planetary cycle, within a mere handful of your own centuries, you wage wars of planetary scale. Not once, but twice." A slow nod. The scholar turned to the other elders, as if expecting anyone, to offer a contradiction. None did. Even the most powerful among them, those who had long dismissed the notion of conflict as an evolutionary mistake, remained silent. The human delegate exhaled, his confidence returning slightly. "We did, and we survived. We rebuilt. We learned from it." The Orantha's many eyes remained locked onto him. No species should be capable of that. For the first time since arriving at the assembly, the human felt something else in the air. It wasn't just discomfort, it was recognition. They weren't horrified because humanity had waged world wars. They were horrified because humanity had survived them. After the assembly adjourned in disarray, the human delegate found himself alone, replaying the moment in his mind. Fear, genuine unfiltered fear, had gripped the oldest beings in the galaxy. Not anger, not superiority, but something deeper, something buried. It made no sense. As he walked through the corridors of the assembly central station, His communicator vibrated. A message appeared, encrypted with a security clearance beyond what he should have had access to. The sender remained anonymous. Meet me. No records. No witnesses. Sector 12 maintenance level. Every instinct told him this was a terrible idea. But humanity hadn't reached the stars by playing it safe. The meeting place was dark, the artificial lighting flickering intermittently. Standing in the shadows was an alien he recognized but had never spoken to, the orange scholar from the assembly. His form, usually composed and precise, appeared shaken. "I shouldn't be here," the scholar murmured, his limbs twitching. "If they knew I was speaking to you, I would disappear." The human crossed his arms. "Then why are you here?" The Orient hesitated, then spoke with the weight of someone breaking an oath. "Because you don't know what you've done." The human narrowed his eyes. "I mentioned history. That's all." A bitter laugh. "No, you spoke of something that was erased." The scholar glanced around as if expecting unseen eyes to be watching. Then he leaned in. "You called them world wars. But your words, they awakened something in the elders, something they have spent countless millennia trying to forget." The human remained silent, waiting. "They called the Great Extinction Wars." The scholar's voice was barely a whisper. "A conflict that predates history, not recorded history. All history." The word sent a shiver down the human spine. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that what you described, the way your people wage war, the scale, the intensity, matches the only conflict that ever truly threatened the existence of all sentient life." The human frowned. "That doesn't make sense. If such a war happened, why is there no record?" The Orient exhaled, his form dimming slightly. "Because they erased it." The survivors agreed that the knowledge of such a war could never be allowed to exist. They rewrote history itself, ensuring no future species would even conceive of such destruction. The humans' thoughts raced. "But if they erased it, how do you know?" The scholar hesitated. "Because some of us remember, faintly, not details, not specifics. Just an instinct, a warning embedded so deep it's become part of our nature. When you spoke of your wars, it wasn't just disturbing, it was familiar." The human's pulse quickened. "Are you saying humanity somehow remembered a war that no one else did?" The Orient hesitated. "Or perhaps something worse. Perhaps humanity never forgot it to begin with." The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. The human felt the weight of them pressing into his mind, forcing him to reconsider everything he thought he knew. A war before recorded history. A war so devastating that the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy chose to erase it rather than remember. And yet, somehow, humanity had repeated it. The Orient scholar's limbs twitched nervously, his bioluminescent skin dimming. "Tell me, human, how did your people fight these wars?" The human delegate hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "With everything we had. We adapted, we innovated. When one weapon became ineffective, we built another. When strategies failed, we evolved. Our wars pushed our technology forward, forced us to understand tactics, resilience, and the cost of survival. They nearly destroyed us, but in the end, they made us stronger." The Orienta's many eyes studied him, unblinking, and that is what terrifies them. The human frowned. "Why?" The scholar exhaled. "Because that is exactly how the Great Extinction Wars were fought." A silence stretched between them. The human felt his breath hitch. The Orient continued, his voice now lower, as if revealing a forbidden truth. "Every species that reaches sentience encounters conflict. Small wars, local skirmishes, the struggle for resources, dominance, survival. But never has a species taken war and refined it as your kind has. We abandoned it. We had to." His limbs flexed anxiously. "And yet you embraced it. You mastered it. Even after reaching a level of technological advancement where war should have become obsolete, you continued." The human remained silent. The scholar's voice wavered. "The elders fear you not because you fight. They fear you because you fight the same way they once did, before the war that nearly ended existence." A realization struck the human, a chilling thought worming its way into his mind. Are you saying that humanity is a remnant of that war? That we're somehow connected to the civilizations that fought in it? The Orient hesitated, as if afraid to answer. No one knows. But consider this. Why is your species different? Why do you think differently? Why do you fight with an instinct no other species possesses? The human opened his mouth, then closed it. He had no answer. The scholar stepped closer. Some of us believe that you are not simply another new race. You are something old, something that should have been lost to time. Either a species that never forgot what others buried, or worse, an echo of something far older. The human's mind raced. The fear in the assembly, the recognition in the elders' eyes, the way they recoiled not from the concept of war, but from how familiar it was to them. For the first time, he wasn't sure if humanity was the youngest species in the assembly or the oldest nightmare reborn. The station's artificial lights flickered, casting long shadows as the weight of the revelation settled over them. The human delegate, usually composed, felt something rare creeping into his mind, doubt. The implications were staggering. If humanity was not a young race, but something much older, something forgotten, what did that mean for everything they had built? The Orient scholar watched him carefully, as if gauging whether he had said too much. "You understand now, don't you?" he murmured. "It's not just fear, it's recognition. The elders, those who have guided the galaxy for millennia, have seen something like you before." The human exhaled slowly. And what happened to them? The Orient's limbs twitched. They vanished. A heavy silence stretched between them. The scholar hesitated before continuing. Not in conquest, not in defeat. They simply ended. The war consumed them. The victors realized that survival alone was not enough. They saw the pattern. The way war begets war, how even the strongest civilizations eventually burn themselves out. So they made a choice. They erased themselves. They rewrote history so that no species would ever follow in their footsteps. The human's fingers curled into a fist. "But we did." The Orient gave a slow, solemn nod. "Yes, and that is why they are afraid. Not just of your wars, but of what comes next." The human's mind raced. If they erased all records, how do you even know this much? The scholar shifted uneasily, because something was left behind, something hidden even from the elders. He glanced around, then pressed a small device into the human's hand. A location, outside the borders of the assembly, a place even the most ancient species refused to speak of. The human felt the weight of the device, understanding what it meant. This was no longer just about history. This was something greater, something buried, something that the galaxy itself had tried to forget. His voice was quiet but firm. "You want me to find it?" The Orient took a slow step back. "I want to know if the cycle is truly broken, or if we are all doomed to repeat it." A cold realization settled over the human. If humanity had already followed this path once, then what stopped it from happening again? He looked down at the coordinates in his hand, then back at the Orient. There was no turning back now. With a slow nod, he spoke the only words that mattered. "I'll find the truth." And for the first time in untold millennia, the echoes of forgotten war stirred once more.